we do have a great show. We're going to sort of continue where we left off at the end of the KLRN live stream, which again, such a great time. Whenever they go live, forget about whenever they go live. Check them out all the time at KLRN Radio on X or the Twitters or whatever you want to call it. We're going to be talking about, sort of continuing, like I said, what we were talking about last night, the post-mortem of the vice presidential debate. And the first question I have right now for everybody, and we're going to start off with Ordy. Is anyone going to remember this vice presidential debate from last night in like a week from now?
I think so, yes. Just in the fact that it really was probably, and G talked about this on his show last hour on KLRN. It really was like the best showing Republicans have had in this century. And I mean, yeah, it came in such a meaningless vice presidential debate, but I think that it kind of showed that, you can take charge of the moderators. Yeah, I made a tweet right after. I said, if you're mad about the moderators, just remember we used to have the League of Women Voters run these, and they would just get local freaking columnists. They wouldn't have big name, is wherever the debate was being held, they just grabbed a couple of newspaper columnists and let them be the moderators. They weren't out there trying to be famous. They weren't out there trying to get zings and gotchas. They were just doing their job and did it well. And both parties decided, yeah, we don't want that. Back in 1988, we really want the Democrats to make us look like shit for the next 40 years.
Yeah, but you raise a good point. I believe it was a friend of the show, Ryan Godusky, who commented on X that this was the first presidential debate where the Republican candidate scored like an over 50% approval based upon debate performance. Rick, that might be significant for people to remember, right? Do you think that J.D. Vance left a good impression?
I think he left a much better impression than anybody on the left wanted him to, because one of the biggest things that I kept seeing tonight or last night and all day today was all of the women talking about how hot he was. So the media has done their best to try to portray him as a troll. And last night, in a lot of ways, he came off to the average female viewer as Prince Charming. So I think a lot of the damage was undone last night because he did manage to keep his cool, and he was able to make his points very articulately.
Well, and that's pretty interesting because all the females I've seen on the Twitters, and maybe I'm in the wrong bubble, were really, really angry at J.D. Vance and his treatment of the moderators, which we'll get into in a little bit here.
The mansplaining.
So, yeah, the mansplaining. Am I in the wrong bubble, Rick, or am I just free from any bubble? I don't know at this point.
You're in the wrong bubble.
Yeah, you're in the wrong bubble.
I am a bubble.
Yeah, because Conservo Twitter was ovulating over him.
Oh, yes. Everyone was grabbing for cigarettes while they were resting from all of the cleanup they had to do after the debate. The right-wing sphere definitely like J.D. Vance a lot more. They feel like it's a promise fulfilled. On the other side, the left seems to have a little bit of buyer's remorse when it comes to Tim Walz. Would you agree with that? And I'll start with Rick.
I think they have a lot of buyer's remorse. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that all day today, Josh Shapiro has just been sitting somewhere just laughing his ass off because he knows if they had picked him like they should have, none of this would be happening. And I'm pretty sure all the Democrats right now are just like, is there any way we can throw this man off the bus?
Look who's checking in, Saint. Mr. Galloway, I thought you were going to be resting, my friend. What the hell? But listen, TMI, all right? I don't need to know what happens in the privacy of your own living quarters, all right, pal? So keep that information to yourself. But I'm glad you're home safe, by the way. Ordy, do you agree that Josh Shapiro is sort of the flavor of the month right now because of Tim Walz's performance at this debate?
I think with almost every reply Walz made last night, Shapiro punched the air.
But you think that he would want Walz to succeed, though, right?
Well, there has to be some. I mean, there has to be quite a bit of Schadenfreude because, I mean, it's like I mentioned last night on the panel show. The only reason Shapiro isn't the VP pick right now is because Camilla had to cater to Michigan and Dearbornistan and the squad. And so the reason why he's not the VP pick right now is basically because he's Jewish.
Do you agree with that, Rick?
I 1000% agree with that. She is so terrified that she's going to alienate the Hamasniks in Michigan that she stayed away from him, and she made one of the biggest mistakes of her career, in my opinion, by doing so.
Well, it seems like Kamala Harris tries to walk a tightrope a lot. It seems like all the Democrats seem to walk this tightrope. I don't think it's going to work out for them because every time you walk a tightrope, at least my fat ass will fall over. I don't think that Kamala Harris has the skill necessarily to walk that tightrope at this point. I don't think that she can balance priorities, especially given the news this week of the missile attack from Iran into Israel. I don't know how tenable the position is. By the way, everybody notice how all of a sudden nobody's talking about Palestinians anymore after this attack? We're only talking about Hezbollah. Kind of interesting.
I mean, would you be talking about Palestinians at this point? I mean,
if they all support each other, you would think that there would be some message from Hezbollah or Iran of making some statement in favor of the Palestinians to sort of give them cover for the attack on Israel. But I don't think they see that at all. I think this is retaliation for Hezbollah. I bet the Palestinians are wondering, Ordy, why didn't they do this for us?
Well, what I find interesting, and this is, one of those things that you don't see percolate too high on Twitter, is that at the last report that I saw, all those rockets that were launched last night, the only injury was a Palestinian.
That was never part of the plan.
Let's go to probably what I think is the biggest moment of the night, and that was the fact check that was done by the CBS moderators here. Let's see what happened here. Let's remember back what happened here.
And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank you,
Margaret. The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
So that would be normally where the Democrat side clip will end, right? That you're not supposed to be fact checking me, and they think that this is some big own. But if people just watch beyond that, they'll see that J.D. Vance here does a good job explaining the very generalized fact check that CBS did here.
Looks like the tables have turned.
Yeah, no, it was nice. That's the one thing that I really wish Trump would do more often. One, speak to the American people, don't get baited. And two, when there's rules of there's rules of the debater as such, for him to just go, no, wait a second, you fact me, I get to reply, I get 1 minute. And I know you have a lot to get to, but I get to reply to this.
Yeah, okay, Rick, you may now speak.
I'm sorry, I'm not saying anything.
How does it feel? Huh? How does it
feel? Oppressed.
How does it feel to be oppressed now? Huh? How do it feel?
Flashback.
Hey, Gene, how you doing, man? Mr. Oppressed? You feel?
Yes, I'd like to speak to your manager, please.
Whatever, Karen.
Hey! Shout out to Zelda. We did it. We beat the system.
You're in a chat that had the link already in it, sir.
Listen, I have been to. I'm working on 3 hours sleep. I had 2 different court appearances in the past 2 days in New York City, which is 3 hours away. I'm fried, okay? Zelda's my only friend. I barely like you, yet I'm coming here to raise the ratings on your stream. Chat. Just do me a favor, chat. Everybody just type oppressed in the chat in support of me. Thank you.
End of flashback.
No, but seriously, the Democrats are selectively and in my opinion, deceptively editing the clip that we just watched, and we're going to play the rest of it in a second. What do you think about? Is this the dub that Democrats think it is?
No. It will be in the media spin because, like you said, they're going to stop right here. They typically, they do the same thing with Trump over and over and over again. The biggest lie about Charlottesville was because they cut it off before the very next sentence that said, and I don't mean the white supremacists, but because, so this is going to be their gotcha moment. They're going to try to spin it that way. They've been trying to do it all day, and it's not working because everybody's coming back and showing them the rest of the clip that you're about to play. But the thing that I love about Vance is, even though he was able to make his points, he didn't beat them over the head with the points. He's very polished, especially for what I would consider a junior senator. He hasn't been in the game very long to come across as polished as he is, and it showed over and over again last night. I mean, he wiped the floor with a guy that's been in the game for 16 years. I mean, it was literally clean up on aisle 9 by the time they were done with it.
Right, and we'll get into this a little bit later. I think this is the difference between a legislator and an executive, right? A legislator is paid to know the nooks and crannies of how legislation works. And as you'll see in a second, J.D. Vance explains how this particular mechanism within the immigration system allowed for illegal immigration by these Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, to remain legally. It's through something called TPS. Let's take a look.
There's an application called the CBP One app where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Now let's talk about that a second, because what J.D. Vance was referring to was the app developed by the Biden administration that allows migrants, illegal immigrants, whatever you want to call them, to apply for being able to remain in America while their claim, whether it be asylum or anything else, is pending. If Tim Walz is saying that this has been around since the 1990s, does that mean he had a smartphone like 30 years before the rest of us did?
No, it means he's an idiot who can't keep up with half the things he's lying about.
Bingo.
As got proven at least 3 times during the debate last night.
Okay, Ordy, liar or just nervous and misinformed and didn't really control what he was saying?
Walz? Yeah. No, he's a habitual liar. It's what he did. Everything he says. I mean, they even fact-checked him last night on the Tiananmen Square thing he's been running on for years. And, you know, he pulled the, well, I'm just a knucklehead and I screwed up the dates. No, the point is you said you were there. You said you were at the student protests. You were not. Well, just like with everything else he did.
We're going a little bit out of order, but you know what? Let's get to that point, because I think that is a pretty salient point here. We're going to take down this video and we're going to add to our discussion here. Let me make sure it's the right banner, because I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. There it is. It's almost as if Ordy is running the show. And
he does. If you ever listen to the Culture Shift, Brad and I are quite prescient about what's going to happen in Hollywood 6 and 8 months down the road. I knew where you were going with the show tonight before, without even talking to you.
Yeah. Well, usually it's Ross who derails everything, but it's pretty cool. Listen, he's in the chat, basically echoing that everything that we're saying. I want to put this one back up before we get to the clip. Ross says that Walz is a miracle, only person in politics dumber than Kamala Harris. Have you guys seen that meme going around with Obama saying, I got to pick someone dumber than me to be VP, and then Biden saying the same thing, and then Harris saying the same thing, and next you know there's a picture of Walz there?
I haven't seen it, but that's insane.
If you like that clip from our new show, Behind Enemy Lines, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other shows, and tune in live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.